This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
I always get excited anytime we have somebody on here that has some type of psychic ability, mediumship. You never know what's going to happen. We all learn something from this. Oh, I've seen things happen. I mean, technologically, for sure.
You get interference, do you?
Oh, yeah. You know what it is? It's the energy. Like the energy is just all over the place. Stacy Mongar joins us on the program. How you doing today?
Pretty well. How about yourself?
Very well. Very well. What's the difference between a psychic and a medium?
Well, to me, they're kind of one of the same. It's basically with mediumship abilities, you're able to connect with literally the other side, people that have passed over. You're able to sense the presence of people that have crossed over. You're able to, not all mediums can see. Occasionally I do see, but I hear, I get messages, I get downloads, but occasionally I will see them, but not always. Psychic just means you're tapped in, you're tuned in to that knowing, that knowing without really knowing, and I know it where it's coming from. It's coming from a higher source. I'm not religious, spiritual, but it's coming from other divine. And I make sure that I don't get other interference. I have to do a lot of energy work on myself, clearing. Like before we came on this podcast, I was literally, doing things to, as far as I do a variety of things to clear the energy out of the room.
You were tapping into Steve's energy and you identified he is weird. No, I'm kidding. Or maybe I'm not. I don't know. What do I know?
No, you're not. No, you have a lot of stress going on in your life right now, but you're very good at what you do. You've been at it for a while. You've gone up the ranks. Yeah, you know how to tap in. And that's another thing I want to discuss, that we all have the ability to tap into that intuition.
Mm-hmm.
I address it like it's like a mother's intuition with her child. And if you're very connected to your children, they could be 1,000 miles away and you know when something's wrong. You just know. You just know something's off, wrong. And you connect with them and you find out that yes, indeed there is. So I try to equate it on that level, but we all have the intuition if we know if something's wrong, off. It's, it's protection, but it's also just that inner knowing. Some of us just take it up a few notches. Like I said, from the get-go, I remember knowing and seeing things at a young age. I'm from Seattle, Washington. I was born and raised there. And I just remember knowing things and being told to shut up. I've been being told to shut up for a very long time, like, oh no. And then realizing that I was square on. I knew what I was talking about. And at a very young age, tapping into that. But we all have the ability. We're all very connected. We're all very spiritual beings. We're highly connected.
Do you feel, Stacy, that some have what appears to be more intuition than others because they're able to tune into it or block out the things the distractions of life, and then they can focus on the information, what they're getting?
Yes, I feel that there are some people that think that, we can all do this. Not all mediums are alike. We all have different gifts and abilities, strengths, if you will, that you tap into, that you're really good at. And I think it's just because you're meant to have those certain abilities. And I think also as you go along in your journey, more abilities and gifts can come out. And that's exactly what has happened to me. For quite a while, I think mine, and that's another topic of conversation, but mine were suppressed intentionally. My gifts and abilities were stopped. But, like I said, I've reported, to law enforcement, to certain intelligence agencies. I've done quite a bit. I just have always been tapped into knowing about corruption, about other things like that. But I also do readings. I do energy work. When I lived in Omaha, I did tap into somebody who had cancer, and I was able to do some energy work on there. And work with an individual of that. I'm not saying, to put a disclaimer here, I'm not saying I cured him, but no, I just alleviated some of the pain he was suffering, and he was able to get out of bed and that sort of thing. So some healing work was going on. But I think that we're all here to do something. We're all here. We have a mission, we have potential, we all have our unique sense of gifts and abilities. And also, I'm here to help people recognize that, because for so long I've been told that, discredited, ignored, denied, gaslit, as that term has been used quite widely, but for so long. And I'm here to encourage people. We live in a world where we discourage, where we put people in boxes, where we don't allow people to their full potential. And some of that's intentional. Some of that's clearly intentional, to keep people in those boxes.
So I want to look deeper into the whole process of mediumship, connecting with those on the other side. That's a part of what you do.
Yes.
Do you believe that when somebody passes, their energy is still around us? It doesn't go away.
No, it doesn't. There are some people that stay here to comfort. It just depends on who you are and what had happened. And when I was here in Lincoln, there was unfortunately a young gentleman that had crossed. I have a unique ability to tap into when somebody's dying. I'm there. I was actually going to the grocery store, and I had seen ambulances, all sorts of crew. I thought, oh my God. And I thought, oh, this is horrific. And I said, oh my God, somebody died. I knew that before coming across the hill and seeing everybody. And, but I connected up with this energy. He was on a motorcycle. He was was he wearing a helmet? I think it was speed was more the factor in this case, but he was going 90 on a 40. And he went out of control. He hit a retaining wall head on. And his bike went one way and he went the other way. He was dead on impact. And I could feel his energy on me. He didn't realize he had died. And so a lot of times, traumatic events, they don't realize. And then I literally had to cross him over, say, no, you can't be on me. You've died.
I've heard that. I've heard of that, where somebody is stuck. I don't know what you call that in between. I mean, some purgatory.
Yes.
I don't even know if that's what it is, but they haven't. And I've also heard that there can be people for decades that don't officially cross over.
Yes. With some of them are here they don't want to move on. They're afraid of crossing over to the other side. When I was helping a friend in Wichita, Kansas. It was a radio station there that he used to work at, but it was being haunted, not only by the passed on owners, but there was somebody that worked there that had killed himself, and his livelihood was a radio personality, and he developed, I believe it was either tongue or throat cancer, which obviously impeded him from being able to do his livelihood.
Sure.
And he killed himself. And he did not want to cross over. He was there. And he said, "Do you think you can get?" And I said, "Oh, I'm already connecting with him." He was concerned. My friend had a phone. He set it down on the table. And all of a sudden, I was, talking with him. And basically, I said, "Oh, I bet he's concerned about," I believe he was Catholic. And I'm not too sure about that. Don't quote me on that. But he was concerned that he was going to literally go to hell if he went to the other side. So he was hesitant. And I reassured him that no, he was not. And I could literally see other people joining him that were there. And I told him I understand how horrific losing his livelihood, dying from cancer. He did not want to. It was just a really horrific situation. And I said, "No, you can." I literally assisted him and crossed him over.
Wow.
And it was chilling. And there was another energy. It was a wild radio station. I'm thinking, okay, no, I don't think I'm going to come back here, but we're good. The owner was quite lively there and let you know. And it's like, okay, you need to stop doing this. If you're going to be here and coexist, you need to behave. And the other,
Stacy, you must take the energy of others when you do a reading. Do you do
yeah.
You do
Yes.
an energetic cleanse maybe in between readings?
Yes. Yes, I do. And a lot of times there's, misconceptions, obviously, surrounding myself and what others do, and I, as I was growing up, I was watching, Long Island Medium, John Edward,
know them very well, by the way.
And I understand some of their frustrations, and now I get it. And it's like, but I was always very drawn and to that sort of thing at a young age. I just didn't realize what I was doing, and the fact I was really picking up sometimes people's thoughts. I do past, present, future, and it just not knowing, but also finding out that it was intentionally suppressed and kept from me, that I was who I was.
Is that you suppressed it because you were afraid of how it would be perceived?
There is a little bit of that, but no, primarily it was they were intentionally keeping it from me. And this is unfortunately people closest to me that I'm not in contact with, but that didn't want me to know who I was. I go the gamut. Like I said, corruption is one of my fortes. And, I'll know when things happen before it happens, like bombs going off in certain parts of the country or world.
Mm-hmm.
I've picked up on that energy. I've picked up on shootings. I've picked up quite a bit. There in Omaha, 2 days before it happened, somebody had left a bomb outside. And it wasn't too far from where I lived at, like a couple of blocks at the county courthouse. And good thing it did not activate. But I picked it up and I thought, I said, this is close. It's going to be down here. And I thought, oh my God. I was trying to tap in where it was at. And I didn't realize it was literally 2 blocks away. But 2 days later, somebody left a bomb, which did not go off, which thankfully, and I was freaking out some of the people around me. So, and there are times I even freak out myself when I pick out certain things, and especially when I get very specific. I'll get names, and not some people are real. They can get first and last. I get first names, sometimes last names, sometimes middle names, and sometimes nicknames I'll pick up, but just to get me to let them know I'm the real deal. So,
What's the weirdest
uh,
thing that's ever come through for you that maybe you had to share with somebody who you were reading?
oh, lots of weird things. I just can't even too many to count. Nothing really weird, but interesting things. I'll ask them, why am I seeing this? Why am I getting this in? They say, oh, that's whatever. Oh, when I was there in Omaha, there was somebody I was reading that I was picking up on Mickey Mouse. And it wasn't necessarily weird per se, but it was just kind of cute. And I'm going, why am I picking up this Mickey Mouse? And she said, holy shit. She goes, excuse my language. She said, I make a donation to, it's connected to, I don't know if it's the Disney World Mickey Mouse, but for cancer victims. She was just making a donation earlier, and Mickey Mouse was one of the emblems on there. And it was just like, holy, and it was just like hours. The weirdest thing, there was another situation. I'll end up like in weird places. In Omaha, I would always end up in certain places going, oh, I think I'm supposed to give them information. And I was at this coffee shop in Omaha, and it was clear out another direction. And I started getting in an accident. People had died. And I thought, oh my God, I have to give this. And they're going to, oh geez, this is one of those times when I'm thinking they're going to think I'm a, you know, crazy, a whack job. That's what I always say. Or they're not going to believe it. They're not going to, I thought I have to give this message. It's really coming in strong. And I kept on, I had to ask a few people. And then I stumbled across this couple that were sitting outside, and I said, I have to ask you, do you know? And it was this two young couple that it was hit and run, and they were killed on impact. And I said, do you know so and so, so and so? And I said, and she said, she started crying, and she said, oh my God. She goes, it happened an hour ago. The accident happened an hour later. I'm giving her the information that, and I said, you need to, this was a hit and run. And I tried to give more specifics on that to her, but that was a little freaky. It had just happened.
It must be
But they
challenging when you have something and you have to deliver it, in terms of what comes through. Do you ever filter?
I what I'm told to filter, sometimes I'm not supposed to.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm just supposed to deliver it. And then you have to be discerning. And sometimes it's somebody's not ready to hear it, they don't want to. I used to sometimes just say things and going, no, Stacy, you can't do that. Not everybody's going to want to hear it. They're not ready to, they don't believe in it, so on and so forth. And
Sure.
so I'd say, do you want to hear this message? Because I will not give it to you. And usually those around me were extremely persistent. So that, oh, we have somebody that can do this, that can channel. We're going to use her. We're going to take advantage of the situation. And, I've had, especially here where I'm at, it's rather, um, and especially about 10, 15 years ago, I had a lot of people that were not accepting of this, what I do, very judgmental, a lot of misconceptions, but I think that was done intentionally, fear-based, I believe. And also, you know, if you know certain things, then you're going to out people. And especially when it comes to corruption, you're going to know. You're going to know when they're lying. You're going to know when they're doing things they shouldn't be doing. You're going to know. And that's threatening on a much bigger, much wider, bigger level.
So I don't do politics. I just never go there.
I know.
However, with the current world situation, do you, and I'm not asking for you to do a reading for us, I'm just a basic question here. Is it challenge you when you pick up on things that you think, in terms of a global vibe here,
Yep.
where you're like, this is just not right, but what are you going to do about it? Jump on top of a building and tell everybody? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, there are some things that but this is where I also feel like I'm supposed to bring people together and bridge those worlds.
Hmm.
And the more people are in their true, authentic self here to, not everybody's, no, most people aren't going to want to be a psychic medium, have no desire, but they're here to do their specific gifts and talents. But use that intuition to guide them, and
Yep.
also to guide them with their families, with their friends, with their truest, highest self. And mostly, we live in a world, and especially in this country, where we're taught to ignore that, and it's intentional.
Hmm.
If you keep the masses in the matrix, then they're not going to be knowing what's going on. They're not going to be here for their highest good, and we're going to keep them in this box, and that'll allow for a lot of things to go on that should not be going on.
So we're just about out of time. Want to ask you this question. If somebody feels that their best description, they're getting something, or their intuition is saying, yes, this is the answer. Would you say trust that process, believe in what you're getting?
Yes, because usually 99.9% of the time, not to say that psychics, I always say that don't ever trust anyone that says that they're always right about everything.
Hmm.
run the other way, because no one is. But I do say yes, trust that gut. If you get it in, it comes in and crystal clear, and it comes in. Yes, trust it,
Yeah. Wait,
because
yeah,
it's not.
that
It's
said,
not.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just. It's not going to steer you wrong.
That's where I was going with this. For you, when you know it's your intuition, when you know it's the right answer, what's it feel like? Is it lighter? Is what how do you describe it?
It's just an inner sense of knowing. I just don't know how to explain it, but it's a little bit more calming. It's peaceful. It's not.
Mm,
It's not. That's how you know when sometimes your intuition is guiding you astray. If it's really anxiety filled, then you need to take a step back, clear your energy, and tune in. But it's calm. It's peaceful. It just comes. And I'll
mm.
say things, and I'll say, people say, "Oh my God, we were just talking about that," or an hour ago, or yesterday. And I said, "Well, yeah, that's yes." Um, but it's more calm, peaceful. It's
Yeah.
sometimes, if it's urgent message, then it's not going to be anxiety, but it's just going to be persistent. I need to get it out. I need to say it.
How do we connect with you? Somebody has questions. Maybe they want to learn a little bit more of how to do this. Maybe they want to connect with the other side. How do we find you, Stacy?
Well, I do have several websites, and I need to update that, revamp it. But Stacy the Psychic Medium, I also am out there. I love music. Music is another one of my passions, live music. And I've been
Same
involved
here,
in
by
that.
the way. Same here. I
Oh,
go at least once a week to a venue, whether it's a cover band, tribute band, concert, whatever it is. Literally every week. I love it.
well, and I love it too. So I'm heavily connected to it here in Nebraska, but elsewhere. I know people from Texas, Georgia, California, all over, and musicians that roll through here, and people that put on the events and that sort of thing. So they know me. They also know me as a psychic medium. I'm pretty honest with that. And I said, if you don't like it, then I won't film you. But usually they're mostly on board with that. they love it. And so cool with that, but they've known me for years. So,
Sure.
but the site is Stacy, the Psychic Medium, STACY, thepsychicmedium.com. And you can find me I'm like on all different platforms there. I have been advised that there are some people out there that are fake websites, and you know how that goes, where people are hijacking your picture, your information. I have been alerted that that may be going on, but so I'm hoping that people aren't coming across any. I've had some defamation of character been going on, but there's been other things attached to that. So
Well,
I'm very
you know what they call that? Bad energy for the people that would even
right.
do things like that. Wonderful having you on here. Love the insight. And again, it's Stacy, thepsychicmedium.com.
Yes, at gmail.com. Well, Stacy the Psychic Medium at gmail.com.
Gotcha. Thanks for being on here today. Really appreciate it. Like you got good vibes, and
Thank you.
I
I
feel
appreciate
it.
it. You as well.
Thanks. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect. This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.